Hello, Mark from Sound Matters here, talking all things vinyl as always. Today I've got a new record weight that I have here that I'd like to talk about. Yeah, and apologies straight away, I've got a little bit of a throat cold, so I'll probably sound a little bit more sort of hoarse and Barry White-like than normal. But I'm going to soldier on anyway, and we're going to talk about weights and clamps a little bit. I've talked about it on the channel before. If you have not seen that video, it is a little bit of one of my older videos, but it's up here in the top hand corner. You can watch that in your own time. I'll touch on the basics today though. GrooveWasher have had a record weight before, and it was this one here. And I also own this one from Sounddeck, the Sound Damp Steel technology. I touched on their platter mat. I don't think they make this one anymore. But anyway, without further ado, let's get straight into the weights and clamps, and in particular why I like this one. So let's get to it. So this is the new weight from GrooveWasher, and like all weights, they essentially improve the contact between your record and your turntable platter. And in doing so, there is a number of said benefits. You prevent slippage, of course. You know, if you've got a slippy slip mat or turntable platter mat, or you use acrylic or anything like that, any potential slippage that might happen would obviously affect the pitch of the record. But it goes beyond that. It also helps to just tighten everything up a little bit, control vibrations, minimize distortion, and generally a lot of people claim that it gets a tighter, more focused sound, particularly in the bass frequencies. And I noticed this mostly with headphones. One of the really nice things about the new GrooveWasher weight though is the fact that they're using a company local to them to machine the whole aluminium construction of the whole thing, or aluminum as you guys would say in the US. And that's nice that they're using a local company and then having their logo etched on to that particular product, rather than just going out far east or sourcing some OEM product and, you know, having their name printed on it. And it's a really nice finish. Let's just see, I can't remember what the actual finish is called. It's a laser etched top with the GrooveWasher G logo. Yeah, and this another thing is this is actually a pretty reasonable weight as well. It's only 14 ounces, and some of them can get pretty heavy, because one of the concerns is with record weights is that they potentially add unnecessary strain on belts and bearings. So you want to keep the weight to a minimum. You only want to apply the kind of weight that is going to achieve the goal. You don't want to apply excessive weight beyond what is actually required. So 14 ounces is quite a reasonably low weight to add. I've had weights in the past, the Sounddeck one, as much as I really love the concept behind this, it is 27 ounces. It's significantly heavier. You can really feel it, and that's no slight on Sounddeck. I really love their products. They make that fantastic Sounddeck platter mat that I use every single day, along with a bunch of other vibration controlling products that are absolutely brilliant. But the record weight for me just concerns me a little bit because it is on the heavy side. If you're very concerned about the weight of record weights in general, or let's say you have a turntable with a suspension system, then you're probably better off having a look at something like a record clamp. Project Mate one of those. I'll put a picture somewhere up in this top corner in the post-production, and please link in the description so you can check that out for yourself as well. Those tend to be lighter still and work by clamping rather than applying weight. The other thing I should say about this new GrooveWasher record weight compared to their original one is the finish. So the finish on the new one is a powder coated matte finish, which is really smart, particularly with that laser etched logo on the top. The original one was this gloss black finish, which is probably fine. I just don't think it looks anywhere near as sophisticated as the new one. And the logo, I believe, is just kind of printed onto the whole weight, rather than this beautiful sort of laser etch, so it reveals the aluminium or aluminum underneath the matte black coating. That is a really smart finish and is an improvement on the original design, in my opinion. Incidentally, the matte black powder coated finish is basically the same kind of thing that you've got on the Sounddeck platter mat on my setup behind me. So the two products really kind of complement each other. So you've got the platter mat, the Sound Damp Steel platter mat with the powder coated finish, and then a record weight with a similar finish as well. So I don't know, small details like that, but I like that they kind of complement each other in my setup. The other thing I'll mention just before we take it over to the turntable and talk in a little bit more detail about record weights and whether or not they're really worth it is that it comes in this really nice neat box, so you've got somewhere to store it when it's not in use, keep the dust away from it of course, and it also just makes it, I think, it just makes it a nice product and a nice gift as well. So without further ado let's get it over to the turntable and just let's talk in a little bit more detail about some of the pros and cons of record weights and whether it's worth it for you. The thing to remember about a format like vinyl is that we're dealing with a process that happens on a very microscopic level. So the slightest element of vibration or movement, mistracking of any kind, will result in a degrading of the sound quality. So the better we can secure the record to the platter, the better the tracking performance in theory should be. Briefly mentioned at the beginning was the prevention of slippage, which may or may not be an issue for you depending on the material of your platter. If you have something like an acrylic platter mat or something like the Sound Amp Steel Sound Deck platter mat that I have on the Technics deck that's behind me in these videos, then this can be a little bit of an issue. The record can quite easily move, and that you may, if the record does move, you'll get a change in pitch, of course. So by adding a weight, you can help better secure the record and significantly reduce the risk of this happening. Closely related to this problem, of course, is the whole wow and flutter element, and some folks claim that adding a weight can help to reduce wow and flutter by improving speed stability as a result of the additional mass. Another really cool benefit of weights is playing back of slightly warped records. If you have a very slightly warped record, then adding a weight or a clamp can help to flatten the disc ever so slightly and improve that contact with the platter surface. Of course, there are limits to this, as a weight or a clamp will do very little for severely warped records. So is it all worth it? Should you get a record weight? Well, I think you should be aware that the improvements are subtle. This is a evolution or an optimization of your sound quality, not a revolution in sound quality. So if you're expecting miracles, then you're likely to be very disappointed. That said, they are a useful tool to have in your arsenal and can be particularly nice to place on a record when perhaps you're listening very detailed listening sessions with headphones. That said, the concerns of some about weight and strain on belts and bearings should definitely not be ignored, and I would definitely check with your turntable manufacturer if you're worried to make sure that the turntable is indeed designed to be able to take the additional weight or pressure. And that's particularly the case if you have a cheaper turntable, or say you have a turntable that has a suspension system. As I say, my personal preference is to a fairly moderate weight that adds some downward pressure without risking unnecessary force. For me, this GrooveWasher model just ticks that box for me. So that concludes the video. As always, there's a link in the description so you can check this product out for yourself, along with the usual partner discounts and sponsor codes that you can use to get money off vinyl gear to feed your hobby, including the likes of GrooveWasher, but also 12-inch, who make the great record display systems behind me, Sound Deck, who make the fantastic Sound Deck platter mat that I use on the Technics deck behind me here. There's also vintage vinyl from Vinyl Pursuit, vinyl storage vinyl storage solutions. I always find it a bit of a mouthful, the whole vinyl storage solutions thing, but anyway, vinyl storage solutions sleeves, VSS for sure, I always use. So great record sleeves, and there's a subscription to Vinyl Moon as well, so check that out in your own time. I get a small commission at no extra cost to you, and I appreciate your support. If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing, but until that next video, keep enjoying the music and spinning those records, and I'll see you then.